Alright, so in today's video I'm going to be debunking how Death Battle scaled Kyle Rayner and how they had Simone the Digger beat him. Now, I'm not really going to go over Simone's scaling, I'm just going to give you what they said, and the conclusion was that he's basically 12-dimensional. Now, I'm going to go over what they say for Kyle and not for Simone because Simone's stuff is out of my area of expertise, and I'm going to try and give the most accurate information I can, so I will stick to what I know best, which is DC Comics. I know I'm a little late to this, but let's get to watching what Death Battle has for Kyle. I'm going to be skipping through a lot of what they say for Kyle because most of it is either like backstory or abilities or just like a sprinkled feat here and there. So I'm really just going to put in excerpts that I think are wrong, and then I'm going to explain why they're wrong.
He had to master all the colors of the emotional electromagnetic spectrum.
There are 7 colors, each representing a different emotion. The yellow light of fear lets Kyle manipulate the worst horrors in your mind. The more scared you are of him, the stronger he becomes.
Orange light is fueled by bottomless avarice, possessing Kyle to absorb not merely his enemies' attacks, but also their souls.
Red is rage, ripping out Kyle's heart and replacing his blood with napalm, which sounds like it sucks, but it's metal as hell.
Blue light is powered by hope and allows Kyle to heal wounds, resist mental domination, and supercharge his ring.
Indigo is compassion, reducing his opponent's will to fight and letting him open portals across space, connecting him to others.
The final one was the sapphire light of love. With it, he can trap enemies within crystal matrices and control their minds. But Kyle only mastered it by forgiving himself for Alex's tragic death.
Oh, self-love. I get it. Must be nice. And with their powers combined, he doesn't just make his enemies taste the rainbow.
The lights of the spectrum merged and Kyle became a White Lantern with total control over the power of life.
Wiz, I cannot think of an attack more useless in a death battle than something that makes you live.
Empowered by the physical embodiment of all life in the DC multiverse, Kyle is vastly more powerful than any other lantern in existence.
Now, one feat they never mentioned for White Lantern Kyle is that in the future he was becoming one with the source. They did mention that the life equation comes from the source, which is correct, but they didn't mention how he literally became one with it. Now, for those who don't know who the source is, the source is essentially DC's supreme being. Now, I already can hear people saying that that's the presence, however, this is completely false. First, we have this scan right here, where it basically says that in one such dream she had dreamt that when she died, her being, her memory, would all eventually return to that from which all of this had begun, to the source. Now, this is further backed up, this statement which says, in the beginning the universe was void and without form, which is the overvoid, and then, and that which was without reason or meaning sought purpose. Out of this was born that which is eternal, that which is the all, and beyond the all, the source. For those trying to say that the very first is invalid simply because it is a dream, I'd like to point out that Dream of the Endless, as stated by Lucifer himself, rules over a realm of dreams, sleepers, and stories. For further proof, we have Dream affirming these titles from Al-Rashid, who says, quote, "Are you then the Lord of Sleep, the Prince of Stories, he to whom Allah has given dominion over that which is not, and was not, and shall never be?" And Dream responds by affirming, saying, "You know whom you have called Harun al-Rashid." This provides us proof that dreams are not merely just something that goes on in somebody's head, but they are legitimately narrative devices to tell a story.
White light of life is strong enough to go up against threats to all of creation, like the Anti-Monitor.
So I'm going to cut off the Death Battle video there because really after that all they elaborate on is that the life equation came from the source and that essentially they delved into the whole story behind White Lantern Kyle, Oblivion, and stuff like that, right? So we're gonna go ahead and just skip through all of that, and the only really scaling feat they gave for him was that he apparently tanked a shot that was 12.3 dimensional, and then they just refused to elaborate on the cosmology like they did with Simone. So I'm going to elaborate on the cosmology in their place. Now, don't worry, you're not going to be in for any headaches. I'm not going to use any super complex scaling. I'm just going to do some really lowball scaling that is easy easy to understand somewhat. We're going to be focusing on the orrery of worlds, which this scan says, quote, many similar universes coexist in the same space, but in an infinite number of different dimensions. There's no limit to the variation. Chief Parker may be a criminal in one world, an ape-like being in another, or even a woman. To corroborate, we have an author statement where someone asks, so, DC Multiverse has infinite higher spatial and temporal dimensions, and the author replies with, no, every universe does, #science. So next, we have this statement from the Quintessence, and what I'd really like to draw attention to is this first quote that says, where there once stood 52 universes walled off from the greater omniverse, there are now countless universes, and we sense no boundaries. Then we have this statement wherein we see that they say, quote, not just Earths, whole multiverses, an infinite web of multiverses, it's becoming our own sort of omniverse. Now, according to dictionary.com, physics and cosmology, multiverse is a hypothetical collection of identical or diverse universes, including our own. Now, as established by previous scans, these universes essentially stack upon each other a lot, and we also have further proof of this via we also have proof of there being reality over fiction transcendences, as seen here. And it is implied that there are many universes wherein this relation occurs, because as it says, quote, was Barry Allen a fiction in some higher as yet undiscovered world? And so it began, hands were extended across a newly discovered multiverse, previously unimaginable adventures ensued. This is a direct implication that yes, this relation goes through and stacks. Now, if we combine all of the knowledge that we just got, each universe has infinite higher spatial and temporal dimensions, and then that's also implied to be more hierarchical in the sense that, and then each universe exists in a higher dimension as established by the first scan, and the fact that there are reality over fiction transcendences. There are other universes beyond even universes that view others as fictional, and then you also have the fact that there are infinite possibilities. So when you put this all together, we can come to the conclusion that the orrery of worlds must contain all possible dimensions. Now, if we look at the Versus Battle Wiki tier of low outerversal, it in summary says that you have to be of the power to encompass or affect structures which encompass the collection, including all possible dimensional spaces, which we just established now. Now, since this isn't a full-fledged DC cosmology scaling video, I'm just going to end this off by showing you that the source is far beyond the standard orrery, which we just established to be above dimensionality, or at least transcending it is. So Kyle easily beats Simone, however you'd like to say the name, and that death battle is wrong. So just let me know what you think in the comments, be sure to like and subscribe, and just tell me what kind of video you'd like next.